Call this special meeting to order on December 10th, 2025. Carrie, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carey, Commissioner Castillo,
Present.
Commissioner Haskell,
Here.
Commissioner Kaufman,
Here.
Commissioner Lee,
Here.
Commissioner Velez, Mayor Enriquez.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of agenda.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Kaufman.
First, I'd just like to say I really appreciate that you, Madam Mayor, is supporting the increased amount to $75,000. I think we can, I can withdraw my resolution to have the entire discussion under your resolution.
Okay.
It looks like we're in alignment on the amount, and then we could have the discussion about methodology during your resolution. So thank you for bringing that up. I just would also say, obviously with the Sunshine Law, we can't communicate, and I didn't know what you were putting on the agenda, and you didn't know what I was putting on the agenda. So the public should know that,
Correct.
therefore, we had competing resolutions, but in reality, we only saw that when we saw the agenda. So,
Yes. Okay, any other changes?
Move for approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Castillo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Haskell. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolutions. Item number 1, establishing a special one-time grant and aid funding program for local food banks and related nonprofit organizations, authorizing the budget transfer of up to $75,000 from account number 001-1900-519-480 to account number 001-1900-519-8200, adopting eligibility criteria, application intake procedures, funding allocation process, and administrative implementation measures to ensure all eligible organizations have an equal opportunity to apply and receive funds to address food insecurity in the city of Key West. We do have public comment.
Okay.
I'll call Sarah Compton and then Margaret Romero.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Compton, and I live at 1901 South Roosevelt Boulevard. I want to start with saying something uncomfortable, but I believe necessary. Last week's no vote looked a whole lot like political theater and not public service. It was clear the resolution couldn't be allowed to pass simply because Commissioner Kaufman's name was at the bottom of it. That is not how our government should work. You're not elected to protect political corners of this island or your own power. You're elected to serve the community. And I need to be equally clear about this. No one up here gets to say there wasn't enough information or that our $500 an hour city attorney somehow couldn't draft a resolution that was clear enough to execute. What was before you was a draft resolution, the same kind you see at every meeting. When you pull a draft for discussion, the point is to determine whether that item needs to be scrapped completely or amended, and if it's a different name at the bottom. And let's be honest, that draft was not complicated. It directed staff to identify which established food pantries needed support, to distribute emergency funds equitably, and to handle any required budget adjustments. Nothing about that required guesswork, and the fact that staff has completed some of those things, or some of that work over the past week, proves that clarity was not the issue. Commissioners, Madam Mayor, if you felt unsure about the needs of our nonprofits or how the mechanics should work, the agenda arrives in your inbox days before the meeting. I know this because I serve on the planning board. I read my packets, I ask questions, and I show up prepared. That is the most basic requirements of the job. What should have happened last week was simple. If you believed $40,000 was too much or too little, you amend the draft. You could have instructed staff to use the full $75,000 that finance confirmed was available all in the same meeting. What you don't do is vote no, wait for public backlash, and then call a special meeting to fix a problem that you created. Meanwhile, regular people, your neighbors, have been scrambling to keep this community fed since the beginning of November. Businesses have become food drive drop-off points, volunteers have been working nonstop, And now we're all here at 3:00 p.m. on a Wednesday because we had to stop our own days to hold our leaders accountable. This is shameful. Key West deserves leadership rooted in integrity, preparedness, and service, not in excuses and political theater. And I'll end with this. I'm confident the commissioners who supported this last week will support it again today, no matter whose name is at the bottom, because the community deserves consistency and not political reindeer games. And if turning this into a gotcha moment was the goal, I truly hope it was everything you hoped it would be. Happy holidays, and I sincerely hope that everyone's heart grew 3 sizes this past week.
Margaret Romero, and then Heather Slivko Bathurst.
I'm Margaret Romero, 1615 Washington Street, Key West, Florida. I have to tell you, I was going to suggest to you that you vote down both resolutions 1 and 2. I really hope you vote no now on number 1. My reason is not that I don't have a soft heart and won't contribute on my own to various food pantries, which you do what I call shelf shopping, people who deliver meals, people who deliver snacks, people who deliver to shut-ins. My concern is, how do you get the word out to everybody that does something to help feed this community? I don't think any one of you could name every single organization, because some of them do it very quietly and you don't even know it. I think the $75,000, you need to remember, I think that got pushed over to a budget item because there was some misunderstanding about some budgets when the budget was originally passed, and that's how this kind of got up to $75,000. Folks, this town is a very giving community. And I think if you folks want to set the example, I think each of you who would support something like this, you need to take out your own checkbook or your own wallet and then encourage others to follow your example if, in fact, you really believe in this. But I will say, what you all put together, at least you really do have an application that begs, when I say begs credibility from those who are seeking the money. That you want their FEIN number, that you want to know what their state number is, you want to know what their mission statement is. But what happens if somebody is out of town and they don't know that they have to be the first on the list, and then when the money runs out, it's gone? Or that it's a huge organization that could use the $5,000, but somebody who only needs $250 is going to say, well, if I can get $5,000, I'm going to get $5,000. I think, I was telling somebody earlier, there was this desk sign back with somebody I was with in corporate, and it used to say, don't do things for attention, do things for intention. So while your intention may be a good one to feed the community, I think there's a lot going on in our various social organizations, clubs, churches, and I know more people are asking for food. I've talked to a couple of people who run these so-called pantries or feeding areas. Yeah, it's up. But how many of these people are going to 2 or more places to get food because they've realized it's a free meal ticket? I think that this was a good start. And if you want to do something like this, put it in the budget at the beginning of next year. But I have a real challenge with us trying to be used as a social organization. So please vote no, and let's hold on the money for a few more months.
Heather, and then Debbie Mason.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. Heather Slivko Bathurst, 1417 8th Street. I'm the co-founder of the Key West Immigrant Support Network. Sorry, I'm a little taken aback by the idea of people hoarding food, so I just need a moment because we do a lot of work. I work with a lot of the organizations in this town, and the idea of anyone taking advantage of the system, I mean, you don't have to be a sociology professor with multiple PhDs to know that that's just, it's just not the case. It might be a small percentage of people. It's a common It's a common argument, but it's just really unfounded. And so I hope you know, I hope you have been shown over the course of the last couple of days since you called this meeting that the need in this community is quite significant, and it is more significant now than it has been in a very long time. I have a full-time job. I'm a full-time mom, and I literally spend every minute of every day, and have for many months, with one foot in front of the other, just trying to keep above water. This morning, I woke up at 7:30. I coordinated with my volunteers to get an emergency can of formula to a family that ran out of WIC yesterday and wasn't able to feed their baby this morning. I delivered diapers to 4 different households. Then I answered emails for my actual job to make sure I don't get fired and end up in the same boat. I have been running back and forth, coordinating with the food pantries and new food drives that have started. I am on the phone and emails constantly with the other organizations. The need is so immense right now, and I am so grateful that you have called this special meeting, that you have seen that there was an error last week and that we need to correct it. And I hope that we can do that, and I hope that we are able to positively affect folks so that they can have a safe and comfortable holiday. My organization has adopted 6 families through the Wesley House through their Adopt a Family program. We've adopted multiple other families who have reached out to us and said that they literally cannot afford toys. They're choosing between giving their children a good Christmas and paying for milk. And I don't remember where I was going. Well, every single family on those Wesley House applications that we got, the parents said, I don't want anything for Christmas except maybe a grocery card. And the idea of giving somebody a grocery card and nothing else for Christmas because all they can think about is putting food in front of their table is just, it's massive. And so this resolution, the one thing that I ask is that we find a way to distribute this money as quickly as possible, that we do not prolong it and make it a months-long process. That is something that we can affect good and change in our community immediately as opposed to long-term. And thank you for your time.
And Debbie.
Hi, first, thank you so much for your service, and thank you for bringing this resolution to the community. As someone who's worked in the nonprofit sector for the last couple of decades, both as a CEO and as a consultant, I can tell you that times have never been tougher for nonprofits or families. As someone who volunteers in my local Rotary Club to coordinate food drives for the local school during the holidays, I can tell you that this year, for the first year, demand was up an additional 30%. And the schools actually ask us for more support because more families were hurting. So in the words of people wiser than me, I would say, Aristotle said the purpose of state, or city in this case, is not merely to live, but to live well. And I submit to you that, as we all know, food is the fundamental need that we have to living well. I'd also say that Plato reminded us that a measure of a man is what he does with his power. So I look to you today to say thank you for your measure of $75,000 as a recommendation. I wish in my heart that we could afford to triple that, because almost 50% of our residents live in severe economic distress, as we know. So in my world, our government does have a role in taking care of its people. If I can offer my assistance in a volunteer capacity for helping you with applications or screening or any part of the process to help you feel that you have integrity and safeguards there, I would certainly do that. But I come today to thank you for what you started and to encourage you to do more. Thank you very much.
That's all for public comment. I do have a communication from Commissioner Carey that she's asked to be read, so I'll read this. I regret not being able to attend today's meeting due to a previously scheduled commitment. I have not received communication from any local food bank requesting funding assistance or expressing a need for assistance. I did see the request from A.H. Monroe to the mayor and city manager that was provided to us at the last commission meeting. I reached out to the CEO of SOS to discuss any need their foundation may have. I also spoke with a board member of SOS who stated they had held a board meeting yesterday, and at this time, SOS is not in need of additional funding from the city of Key West. I do not support the transferring of funding to the COC, as the mission of the COC clearly states to foster a community-wide commitment to ending homelessness. It is my understanding that this is a request to feed those in need, not specifically the homeless population. Programs like Cooking with Love feed a large portion of our housed elderly community. SOS is also feeding mostly housed clients. The funding, if allocated, should come directly from the city to the qualifying nonprofit. I would like to ask that any local restaurants who are able to donate food supplies to programs like Cooking with Love or SOS or the AH Feeding Program, please do so. It is also important to note that the SOS Foundation, who is listed as a recipient in the first resolution presented to the Commission, is not a member of the COC. The COC belongs to Monroe County. I am not aware of any formal request from the county for this funding support. If this resolution passes and the city receives more requests from food programs for feeding the community, then it seems most appropriate to use some of the funding previously set aside for UNESCO to fund this need. If this resolution passes, I would like each of the applicants to include any other funding resources they have requested and been turned down for, so that we are certain the community partners, such as the Community Foundation of the Florida Keys, have been utilized before spending taxpayer dollars. I have always supported the nonprofit community and efforts in Monroe County. I am a mother who has always also lived paycheck to paycheck and often wondered where my family's next meal would come from. So I very much understand the sentiment of this effort. We want to help ensure the neediest in our community are being served, and this season I have been overwhelmed with the abundance of support I have seen for toys and clothing for the children in our community. It is quite impressive and extremely heartwarming. If some of these nonprofits collecting toys and monies for toys have any overage in donations, I have seen this year after year over the last decade, perhaps they would consider purchasing grocery gift cards to present to families in addition to toys for the children. I only ask that our city and our fellow commissioners consider this request in a responsible manner and that any other resources that have funds available to assist have been exhausted. This idea funds this need on the backs of our taxpayers, many of whom are also struggling during this season to provide for their families and keep the lights on. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Yes, Commissioner Castillo?
Commissioners, City Manager. I am in support of what staff recommends tonight or today, and you recommend this because it's now changed so many times from 20, it was 40, then we 20, now it's back to 75. So we could afford to spend the 75,000 without any harm to our city? That's my question.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo, what staff has provided was the mechanism in which we would be able to support what the spirit of the 7 was going to direct us to do. The 75 was just the allocation of the amount within that line item. It's not necessarily a recommendation to go to the 75, but that's what's available.
Additionally, my fellow commissioner had said 40.
Again, our team is doing our best to stay in a situation or a position in which we'll do whatever we're directed to do. The first resolution, which I brought forward and articulated, what I was concerned with or really we needed more direction was where was it coming from? Our budget did not allocate any additional funding of this nature. So when we made a recommendation based on what we have done prior, it was in reference to what line item that particularly wanted. So the identification of this particular line item that was denoted as UNESCO or formally as UNESCO, it was just to allocate that this is where the funds we believe would come from if directed to do so. So right now, I don't know if I answered your question other than just, it's not our recommendation to go to 75. It's just that's what's available. And then we will do everything that we can to deliver on and execute what the spirit of the 7 is going to provide.
But can the city afford it? It's, I guess, to the...
If the spirit of the original 75 was to provide... If the spirit of the original intent of the 75 was to support UNESCO, then what I would say is, can we do it? Yes, but it comes at the cost of UNESCO. So it's back to a decision making. That's the allocation. If there's anything that exceeds that, then we would be put in a situation that I would ask again, well, where's the recommendation of where it's coming from?
Okay. Madam Mayor, if I may, Commissioner Kaufman, you okay with this?
Well, we have to talk about.
Yeah, that,
We have a little, I'd like to talk a little more, but I greatly appreciate, Madam Mayor?
go ahead.
To answer, yeah, I really
go.
greatly appreciate the support for funding up to the $75,000, if that's your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so yes, I did call for this meeting, and we did have a resolution last week that had identified $40,000 in 4 entities, and it was very unclear. I believe it said that was coming from the emergency fund, and it was identified that we're able to take it from the, promotional fund. And so there was direction to give staff to be able to see if there was any other nonprofits to be able to allocate this money as well. So that was a direction that we gave the city manager to see if there was anybody else out there, because we did not want to miss anyone other than the 4 that were identified. So on Monday, after my speech on the radio, we did have some people call and to let us know that what they do and that they would like to have, or be able to allocate some of that money as well. So in speaking with our city manager, we came up with something where we could be accountable and transparent, where we can have a link on our website, click on the link, have the application, they fill out the application, let us know who they are, what their needs are, who they serve, and how much money. Maybe the commission, the will of the commission may want to put a cap on up to $5,000, $7,500, $10,000, whatever the will of the commission is. And then that way it's accountable, it's time-stamped of when it comes in, and it's transparent. And that's why I called this meeting, because I didn't want to make the responsibility of the staff to identify the entities, and then we miss one, because we would really feel horrible if we didn't make it fair to all. So that's why I called this meeting, and so any discussion, I'd like to hear it.
Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Castillo.
Again, you in support of the 75?
Up to 75, yes, that's my resolution.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kaufman.
So once again, I want to thank you, Madam Mayor, for bringing the resolution and supporting this. I'm going to vote yes, no matter what the commission decides with regard to the methodology and how best to proceed. And I think we're counting the votes from last week and this week, we're probably going to be successful. So thank you very much for doing that.
Well, this resolution is a lot more clear.
Well,
Yes, go ahead.
thank you. In my humble opinion, I think we should leave last week, and we should look forward, and we should try to bring the community together. There's been a lot of angst about this, and there's no reason to, because we're all coming together and we're all in agreement. That's why I withdrew my resolution. I'm supporting your resolution, and that's, we're in the holiday season, and it's the right thing to do, because I think as a community, we're making a little bit more of this than it needs to be. So with that being said, the only thing to really think about is I tend to agree with former Commissioner Margaret Romero and Ms. Mason in terms of thinking about how to be most effective with the funds. And in City Hall, we don't have expertise with regard to distribution of monies on a competitive basis or with the most effective criteria to maximize the usefulness of the funding. And I think we all agree that's what we would want. So that's why, when we have the continuum of care available to us as our partner in the community, and not only with respect to addressing issues of homelessness, but also funding food pantries. I contacted the continuum of care administrator. They're available. They do this on a regular basis. They can take the funding up to $75,000, and then it also protects our city staff. We will be immune from criticism, right? Because guess what? As former Commissioner Romero said, some people might not like how the city staff decides to allocate this, and on a first come, first served basis, we're not exactly meeting the highest and best use, perhaps, for the money, as Ms. Mason was sort of talking about the guardrails or safeguards, and Commissioner Romero was talking about. So anyway, if there's not interest in utilizing the expertise of the continuum of care, I'm still voting for this. But if there's anyone here that has an interest in partnering with the continuum of care to take on the role of evaluating potential food pantries and using their expertise, then I would obviously favor that.
Move for approval.
All right, so I have a motion from Commissioner Castillo. Do I have a second for discussion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Haskell. Commissioner Haskell, do you have any discussion?
Yes, Commissioner Kaufman, I wanted to ask you or ask anyone out here, is there anyone here to represent the continuum of care to answer whether they would be willing to take that on?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I spoke with Mark Linkner, who is the administrator for the continuum of care, and he, in an email, and I could share it, he said he spoke with the board chair of the continuum of care. And for those who don't know, the continuum of care is an umbrella organization. It's not a competing agency. It's not a competing nonprofit. They're like an overall umbrella organization that does the distribution of funding on a competitive basis with criteria, evaluation process. And this is what they do on a regular basis. So it just makes sense to me to do it that way, but and they're available and they're willing.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Lee?
Yeah, I'd spoken to two members of the SOS board, and they wanted me to state that they did not request any funding from the city. They wanted me to state that. Having said that, there's always a need all year long. There's a need for food and feeding people. So I'm convinced there's a need. So that's clear. I would personally like to have seen this to go back to 40 for the original request, but I think that listening here that the motion will pass, and I will support it. But I would have liked to see it go back to its original request of 40. Thank you.
What is the will of the commission? Is there going to be a cap? Is it going to be 1,000, up to 5,000, 7,500? Do you all feel that there should be a cap on the need? And then my second question is it going to be first come, first serve until the money runs out? What is the will of the commission?
well,
Commissioner Haskell?
If it is going to be first come, first serve, I think there should be a cap. Because otherwise, if some entity requested the entire amount, then they would be gone. So I think if it's going to be first come, first serve, there should be a cap. If it's going to be on a merit basis, which it's not recommended that it be on a merit basis, even though the application process is similar to an application process for a merit-based judged kind of grant proposal. But if it's, so I would, put a cap at, say, I think 7,500 was recommended. That would be fine with me, or $10,000 if it's going to be first come, first serve, because I think it's difficult, to ask agencies to go through a whole process of submitting this information, and then, they could just do a slipshod job, but be first in the door. You know what I mean? So it's a little odd, but it's better than nothing.
Okay.
Mayor,
Commissioner Castillo?
if I may, it started out with homeless, basically food pantries. But, when you look at the amount of people out there, like the after-school programs with the kids and different entities, it not only affect adults, it affect these children. So, if you're going to include this pantry type, we need to know who all they are to be fair to everybody. Again, I don't see a whole lot of people that know. When I contacted Zion Church and also the Boys and Girls Club, just about, do the children eat? They do come hungry every day. So, when we distributing this, and like I said, I was on the same page as Commissioner Lee and Sam, the $40,000 was the original thing, and I asked city staff, was the 75, he said that was the number, but, you know, we can go with whatever number that we see fit. I don't have a problem with the 75. The problem is the distribution. Long as everybody get a taste, I think everybody will be happy. Thank you.
Well, they'll just need to apply
Well,
online. Yes.
we need to put the message out there that they know, though. Because like you said,
Website.
right now, the ones that's not here and operating, that operates certain times of the year, I don't know who all they are. I volunteer myself every Saturday. I collect the groceries from the people that come to my parish and drop off, and I'm steady collecting food items, clothing, and just like the need in Jamaica right now they're in need of generators and clothes. But again, I want everybody to know. Thank you.
Commissioner Kaufman.
So to be specific, I think I would agree with Commissioner Haskell. $7,500 sounds fair. I don't think it's the best process, but like I said, I'm going to support this no matter what. And I really liked what Commissioner Castillo, what you just said. I mean, I didn't even think about the Boys and Girls Club, but absolutely. I mean, they're providing snacks and after school meals for kids. And so there's, probably a lot of agencies. And it could be more than 10. I mean, divide 75,000 by 10, that's 7,500. So that's why, I still believe the COC is the best way to go. But if I'm not hearing anyone joining in on that. So I would agree with Commissioner Haskell at 7,500 as the cap.
Okay, the resolution says 5,000. So if you're amending that, if you're all in agreement, you would have to amend your,
Okay.
Commissioners?
and we can vote just on that separately if you want to do it that way.
It's up to them if they'd
Commissioner
like to
Haskell.
amend it. And then go
Madam Mayor,
ahead.
Commissioner Haskell,
I'm just looking at the
the resolution.
resolution. I have
was-
both of them pulled up, so hold on a sec. I want to see where it says 5,000.
It's section 5, letter D.
Okay, so yeah, I would move to, well, there's a motion on the table, right?
Yeah, but
It's
it's-
been made and
5.
seconded. I'm happy to amend it to 7,500.
You can't amend it. I got to take back the motion.
No, well, if you're okay with 75, we can vote on
go.
this as amended. Are you okay with the 7,500? Okay, so
Yes.
that's the new motion. We're
As-
going to approve with that
Yes.
cap.
And then the
Okay.
other question I have, and I believe it's for staff, is when they apply and we have their application, how soon do they receive the funds?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
One of the reasons why, again, I'm really trying not to conflict with any narrative that is going on there. We believe, staff believes, that this was the most efficient way to get the funds to individuals. So we believe the process in place will allow us to not have to spend time ranking them, candidly, which will allow us time to qualify the application. Did they do everything complete? Is everything there? A more quality type of review. And then I believe that the turnaround would be relatively quickly, which is what is the spirit of why we're doing this, in my opinion. So we have direction on what line item to take it from. We have a process in place. So it would be our standard procurement process. And we believe that that could happen relatively quickly.
So quickly, does that mean a day, a week, 2
Well,
weeks?
Yeah, and the resolution is calling for a filing period. So
Right.
we need to have a deadline.
Yeah, we're trying to cast a wide net. I think the legal's going to jump in and save me. But what I would say is we picked the 30 days to address, I would say, a very legitimate concern, which is some individuals may not be aware of this. So we wanted to try to do everything we can to make that application process as long as possible, candidly. But also respect to, can we deliver this in the time of need? Because as it continues to move out, we're facing a different concern. I would say our normal process, Mayor, it safely would be within 5 days. So once we stop the process of applications or reach that threshold, that lever, I would say that if you gave our team 5 days or less, we would be able to distribute the funds. in the normal process.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Castillo.
with the added verbiage, 5 days.
Well, I need a little clarity too. If I'm collecting these, I'm handing them over after the 30 days. I'm not handing them over every day.
It'd be like a first come, first served basis. So I guess my
every day at 4 o'clock, I hand them over to city management.
that would be the intent, so we can make that clear. But then my question then also would be with the cap. Are we just then, as soon as we receive 10, is that where we're ending? Or say in a so much time, do we try to allocate it to all the ones that applied in that amount of time to make it more fair? So I guess maybe that's something to consider as well. Because right now, as it does read until the funds are expended. So if 10 apply, in a day's time, then we're done. So I just didn't know, and then are we capped at that 75 at that, or is it going to be based on the amount of applications? So, I guess that's something to consider as well.
Yeah.
Commissioner Kaufman.
Thank you. Again, I think the COC would handle this differently and better, but in any case, what I would think is the most fair is have the deadline, and then at that point, do the allocation. If there's more than 10, then they're not all going to get $7,500, whatever the divided number is, right? I think that would be the most fair thing to do. Assuming they're qualified, eligible nonprofits, because
And
because,
one, yeah.
it just doesn't, I think Commissioner Romero's point was well taken on that, in that, if it needs to be publicized, as you're saying, and so that's how I would approach it.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
Commissioner
sir.
Kaufman could not agree with you more, but again, we're also stipulating that the applications are all going to be 7,500. What we're really leaning on is what we heard from, a comment that, the good nature of individuals. I don't want to assume that each applicant is going to apply for the 7,500. So the amount of, look, it's why we came with this recommendation, candidly. We're not going to be able to defend why this and not that, or why how much here, and that's why we were looking for some guidance and some leadership. We came with some recommendations, but we're doing everything we can. Like, our responsibility, the way I view it, is provide a process in place in which we can execute this fairly and efficiently as possible, because the spirit is to help those in need as soon as possible. So we believe we could do that. I don't want to say it's a cap at 10, because if they don't request the 7,500, it could go past the 10. So I do think that, not that I'm going to develop it, but I believe that the real threshold is until we hit the 75.
Yes, I agree. Any other comments?
I still need a date then. I don't know if we even need a date. If it's first come, first served, maybe there isn't an application period.
I would suggest setting the date at the end of December 31st, just to catch anybody who may not have heard of it, if we happen to have any money left over.
I agree.
So I would say it's first come, first served, but the deadline would be December 31st. And I'm just looking at the application again. Probably there should be somewhere it says, what are you asking for, I think. Mission statement, well, who do you serve? Describe the need, how the money will be utilized. I thought I had seen an amount requested, but maybe it's not on, maybe I didn't.
Yeah, it's about 7 down on the first page, the fourth from the bottom.
Okay.
Right below FEIN.
Amount requested, okay. So let's add to that line a maximum of $7,500. So that's clear.
And we still have a motion, which is kind of silly, but
Add
you're
the
okay with
verbiage in,
the
and I'm
December
okay with it,
31st?
yeah.
Everybody's okay with December 31st? Okay. And I just have one more point of clarity.
Absolutely.
So this has to be delivered, mailed, or emailed to my office directly. We're not going to accept them on through the webmaster, because that creates a whole other timestamp.
How would you like them?
I think if we're going to receive them the way I receive bids, it should be mailed, hand-delivered, or emailed, which we don't accept email bids, but in this is different than that. I don't receive them from a third party.
However you do it now. Yes, I
agree.
agree.
Okay, and I'm handing them over every day at 4 o'clock to city management.
Madam Mayor?
Go ahead.
Carrie, thank you. Part of why we made the Adobe fillable and linked it to the website was to allow them to apply via our website. So if we could
Well, their timestamp on the website is going to be, that's no longer me accepting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't get a chance to discuss this.
Neither did I.
I think they should be time-stamped.
Okay. So delivered to my office in one way or another, but not through a third party, from the organization.
Yes.
Okay.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
I'm
Commissioner
not clear.
Castle?
I'm not clear. It sounds like I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing, yes, a person can submit through the website. I think that's what I heard you say. And then I heard also that it needs to be delivered to your office so you can timestamp it.
That's what the resolution talks about, the application. And the application is saying it has to be delivered to the city clerk's office, not through the web. It doesn't give that as an option. That's what I'm saying. I just want to make sure you're understanding, which is, I mean, the timestamp on now there's IT involved with the timestamp on the website. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure.
So can we direct people, yes, you can fill it out online, but then you have to deliver a hard copy?
But then
I think ultimately,
No.
the application will be available for access online, and
Yes.
then it gets delivered to the clerk's office.
Yes.
Whether by email or however the clerk.
and that's the way your resolution reads and
Yes.
your application. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay. So,
Any other comments or questions?
so this is, do you want to?
No, I just wanted to.
I was
if we're
going to
gonna
recap.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah. So we're approving this at the $75,000. No one entity can receive more than $7,500. The deadline is now the 31st of December. And as stipulated, it gets filed with the clerk, and I'll hand them over every day to city management.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, in the event, Madam Mayor, all the money's not used, it goes back to
It'll be on that line item.
that line item.
Yes.
Okay. I'm only making sure because, like I said, I know a lot of people don't know with all the after-school programs that take place, that feed-ins are very costly to the parents, because I've always sponsored the children and also the soup kitchen. So, you know, I just want everybody to have a good Christmas and a Happy New Year or whatever holiday season and get this over with. So with that and all the corrections, move for approval.
Yeah,
Commissioner
Sorry,
Kaufman.
one last question. When is the application going to be available? Did we say that? I think that's probably on some people's minds.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaufman, as usual, excellent question. We were waiting to get direction tonight. I believe it would be something that we could activate tonight.
Perfect. Any other questions? Commissioner Haskell?
Yes, thank you. Who is checking the applications for correctness, like all the questions were answered, they didn't skip anything, they turned in their 501c3 letter and their whatever else is required, their Department of Agricultural and Consumer Affairs certificate. Are you going to check that, or is that going to get checked in purchasing, or who's going to, check the applications for completeness, not necessarily rank them, but presumably it has to be a complete application, right?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Haskell, another excellent question. We believe that the way we program and stood this process up with that, it would be contained within our finance department, and we would lean on Lucas that handles the RFP process as well. We believe that that is the best course and most prudent path forward.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaufman?
Yes, and thank you.
Commissioner Lee? Yes. Mayor Enriquez?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Meeting adjourned.